GM fam, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Avatar. I'm your host, Crafter, and today I'm joined by the one and only Roofue. What's up, dude?
Hey, buddy, how we doing?
Doing good, man. Um, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping quick, and then we'll dive on into this. We have I don't know if anyone's in the studio with us, but we are. Let's switch over to my screen. We are streaming from the Fungi Family Social Hub over in the Sandbox. So if you guys want to come join us, we are hanging out inside of the Social Hub. I don't know if Rufu, if you're in there yet, but I'm in there hanging out. And switch it over. I don't see anyone else yet. Just me and my big old alligator. But
Don't worry, I'm here. You just gotta find me.
I was gonna say, are you wandering around? I thought I saw it was. Are you wearing an Andy avatar?
Andy, I'm just kind of unfortunately stuck in the ambassador suit.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah,
I saw something shiny running around. I wonder who that is. That
I'm
was you.
actually closer than what you think.
Whoa, there you are. Hell yeah. Um, but yeah, so we are in here. If anybody wants to come join us live, feel free to hop in. I'll drop the links into the chat here in just a second. I gotta get my screens figured out here. I'll drop the link into the chat if anyone is new to the sandbox. There's a link coming that'll kind of this YouTube video should help guide you through it if you do need to know. I know a lot of y'all that are tuning in live right now are already very familiar with how to use the sandbox, but there's a link in case you don't know how to do what we're doing, and you get everything downloaded and come join us. What up, frenemy, Hoddle, everybody? We will have a form for y'all to fill out at the end of the podcast, so make sure you stay tuned till the end, and you'll get some experience points as well as a chance to win 50 sand. Thank you, Sandbox, for helping us out with that giveaway and sponsoring it. So 50 cents going to one lucky winner at the end. And without further ado, let's dive on into it. How are you? And I know is this early for you? You're in Australia. I don't know exactly how early it is. I think you said you just woke up. So how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, mate. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning here. Um, yeah, it's quite a
That's not too
sunny
bad.
day out where I am. It's gonna be pretty warm as well today. We're still coming into summer, but yesterday it was 28. But because of where I live in Australia, 28 with humidity feels like 30 degrees, 35 degrees at this time of year, so it's pretty hot. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll see if I can convert it, but just put it. It's pretty hot,
Yeah.
somewhere in the 90s to 100 range. I would
90s
kind of
90s to
assume.
100. Okay, yeah, I was actually, I'm not in Texas anymore, but I've been living in Austin for the last 4 years, and we just packed up and are starting a digital nomad journey around the world again, me and my wife, and we'll be back to Austin. But when we left, we had just experienced, I think it was 2 months worth of 100-degree days in a row, and or more, 100 or more, and that gets old after a while, let me tell you. So, um, is that how it is in Australia? It's hot for a long
So
time.
I'm on the east coast. So I used to live in Sydney. Now I live up in Queensland, which is north of Sydney by about 12 hours. So Queensland's a massive state to the north. Um, Sydney's more. It's actually weird. When I lived in Sydney, temperatures could get anywhere up to 45 degrees Celsius. Like during the bushfires we had in 2019, we had about 4 or 5 days where it was 48 degrees back to back to back, and then the rest of the bushfire season it was 42, 45, somewhere in that range, with humidity just being crazy.
Mm,
It felt like 55 most days, but now
that,
where I live up in Queensland, I'm in this perfect middle zone because I'm right on the beach. it doesn't really get past 35, except around Australia Day. It just seems to get around 40. So in this perfect little spot where it's not too humid, not too, cold,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
No,
nice.
that's exactly what I'm looking for. I I love I like to like experience the cold and the hot for a little bit, but I prefer to be right in that. I don't know what exact I'm horrible at converting and especially in my head. But like right in like the 70, 75 degree weather, like I love that weather. I could spend
Uh,
all year in that. I'm imagining it's
so about
probably
23 degrees. You'd love where I live then. It's
yeah.
probably doesn't get past 28 most days, even in the peak of summer, because of it's right on the coast. But I was up in Brisbane the other day, which is in Queensland again. It's about an hour north of me, just for a day doing some stuff. And it was 29 degrees. So what's that? It's probably about 80 something, I would say.
Okay.
84,
Yeah.
and essentially humidity was just horrible. It got to 28, and then as soon as it got about 2 o'clock, it came down, but the humidity was just bad. So it's
Yeah.
like that across the east coast, but when you go into the middle of Australia, it's like nothing you've ever experienced. Like I did the Uluru trip when I was like 14, 15, so quite a few years ago now. And we went to a place called Kings Canyon, and this was, I think, I can't remember if it was in the middle of summer or in the middle of winter, and it was still hitting temperatures of 46, 47 degrees. So it
Mm.
just, and with the humidity and the dryness, it felt like 60. It felt like going to Mars would be the way I would, put it. Like that's
Yeah.
113 Fahrenheit. Like,
Yeah. That's
and
real
that's at the
hot.
low end. Like it's crazy. Like when you go out there and like you just imagine 100 years ago, people survive. Like thousands of years ago, people were surviving out that way. It's
Yeah.
just kind of amazing.
That is kind of wild to think about that, and like, and then I'm spoiled and have a AC just cranked and have it set to. I was always always setting it to like 60, 69, 70, so it's like nice and chilly inside, and it's like I can't imagine having to just be outside in this for the whole time, and yeah, it'd be crazy, but um that's good to know though, because me and my wife, like I said, we're starting to travel, and one of the places we want to go is Australia. So we'll have to definitely check out the East Coast. I'll let you know whenever we do that. We can for sure hopefully meet up. Um, what city did you say you're in?
So I'm in a place called Surfers Paradise.
Surfer's Paradise. Sounds great.
Yeah. Mate, it's very touristy. A lot of Americans, British, Europeans. Um, like it's quite nice. Like from where I am now, I'm just poking my head around the window. I can see the beach, so you
Nice.
know it's
That's what
quite
I love.
nice.
That's what I love. Our first stop on our travels, once we leave the U.S., is gonna be Bali, and I'm excited to just get back to island life. We've been to Bali once before, and we've done a bunch of Southeast Asian islands, and I just love being on the water. So um,
Oh mate, Bali is basically it's mini Australia because that's where
yeah,
every Australian goes on holiday. It's
seriously, it was tons of Australians when we were there for sure. I mean, it makes sense. It's so close to you
yeah,
to you guys.
like it can be a bit sketchy. I've been over there once.
Yeah.
I got Bali belly last time I was there really badly, so I got the
Uh,
migraine, but not the I got the
Not the other
migraine, but
stuff.
yeah, but it was just horrible on the way back to Australia. It was just the whole time, just absolutely beside myself in pain. But it was nice. We went all the way around Bali. We did a few of the rural places because a lot of people just stay in the main capital, and
Right.
that's fine. But like the beauty is out in the country. Like you can get some
Totally.
beautiful hotels. There's no tourists around or very little, and we went out. We paid a fisherman, random fisherman that we found. This is going to sound really weird, but we did it.
That
I think it was
sounds
like
awesome already.
50 Australian dollars, and he took us out in a traditional canoe when we went mahi mahi fishing. Can't remember if we caught a mahi mahi, but Yeah, I don't know if you use the same word for this fish, but it's like a rainbow.
Like a rainbow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a kingfish, but not quite there. They
Uh-huh.
they get quite big, like human size, kind of big. They're beautiful fish to eat. I love mahi mahi, but it's so expensive. And yeah,
That's awesome though. So you didn't catch any though, or you don't remember?
I can't remember. It was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
know that we went mahi mahi fishing, and I know that there was a lot of boats in the area, like traditional little skiffs. I know they were catching quite a few, but I can't remember if we got anything.
Yeah, I've never fished anywhere as far as like any of like the islands that I've been to. I've fished quite a bit in Minnesota where I grew up in the States, but um I've never gone fishing in the ocean anywhere, and I think that would be fun to experience, especially if you just you said he took you out in a canoe.
Yeah, like a traditional skiff, almost like
Uh
the dual hull with the stabilizer on the side, traditional wooden canoe
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
seen like 400 years of service and it's still
It's still
popping along.
functional and
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to get traveling again. But anyways, I mean, this is what this podcast is talking about, whatever. So, but I do want to kind of give everyone an intro that maybe doesn't know you or does know you and wants to know you a little bit better. Do you want to just let everyone know what you've been up to and what you're working on, and then we'll just continue chatting.
Yeah, sure. So basically I'm the head of Roof Studios. It's still like doing the paperwork, getting it finalized, blah blah blah. But essentially, we're Australian studio, mostly Australian staff. But we've got people on our team like OG Shakespeare. We've got Cyber Dragon, who's another staff member at the Sandbox.
Hmm.
We're working with 32 Voxel. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you saw it. The
I've
car that I put up on my
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Twitter, which looks amazing. Um, they're working on that, plus a whole bunch of other Australian assets. You know, really good guys. They've done a hell of a lot of work for me, and really talented. I think a lot of people were. I got a few messages coming in to me saying, "Oh, that wasn't made in Vox Edit," so it's quite a lot of people out there
Yeah.
that are impressed by their
That's
work.
that
And
was I mean, that wasn't my first reaction when I saw it, but my first reaction was, "Wow, this is like really realistic for Vox Edit." So,
yeah, do you know
yeah.
where that car's from, by the way? I think one person out of the 1600 or 1700 people who saw it noticed where it was from straight away.
I don't it didn't pop into my head. Where can I find it? You tweeted about it, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. It's on my
Let
Twitter. Do you want me
me
to link it to you?
if you have the link, otherwise I can go find it here quick.
Where's
I got you pulled
it?
up anyways. There it is right here. Boom.
There we go. So that's actually from it's a horror, I wouldn't say comedy, but more of a horror thriller called Wolf Creek. I don't know if you've ever seen that
Wolf Creek,
movie.
nope. I haven't
So
seen it, so that's probably why it doesn't actually trigger anything for me, but
so it's fictional, sort of very loosely based on facts, movie about a guy called well, it's based on a guy called Ivan Milat, a serial backpack killer in Australia. So this is just kind of like the Australian. Um, it's kind of just like Australia's version of like the Chainsaw Massacre, or like
mm,
it's our horror story, but it's kind of
yeah.
loosely based off real facts that have happened, where a guy basically went out and killed backpackers and hitchhikers over a space of 10 years. So
Okay.
it's kind of a reference call back to that. And as you'll hear soon, and I'll show you, I'm planning to make quite a few tongue and cheese kind of tongue and cheek,
Tongue in cheek.
uh, yeah, like callbacks to it, just because it's funny. Plus, because a lot of our audience are European American. A few of you guys are going to see it and kind of get the reference, especially being an Australian studio making Australian games.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
essentially, we've been working hard. We were originally working on what used to be called Trouble Down Under Part 1. which was what I've been showing off on my streams for quite a while on social media. But then we decided to start on Trouble Down Under Part 1. So Part 1 will lead directly into straight Part 2. But Part 1 is basically what's that game that uh, what it's called? Bored at Yacht Club did. It's an infinite pipe sewer game.
Dookie Dash.
Dookie Dash. It's like the Australian version of Dookie Dash. Um,
Okay.
if it
And
was like more realistic to the theme, if you understand what I'm saying.
yeah,
So
yeah. No,
you
that
get you
that makes
basically your character starts in a car. You got to keep driving, survive as long as you can. Points be acquired. You can pick up lives. You can pick up coins. Um, and then you have obstacles that'll come at you. And I don't know if you've seen any of the teasers I put up, but these obstacles are going to be very Australian and very unique. Like we've recently applied to Game Maker Fun, and the
uh-huh.
feedback we got straight away was, "Damn, this is a unique sort of game. We haven't seen anything like this." And because all our
Nice.
assets are like I think at the moment we're running off of Trouble Down under Part 1. 99.99% of all our assets are custom. It's like
Okay.
nothing you've ever seen before.
Hell yeah.
Like,
I love that. I think I see both sides of it, but I think more games should be made with 99% custom assets because it's just it really adds to the experience of like immersing yourself in the game and like just I don't know, making it unique compared to other games that you played.
oh, 100%. Like, back in the day, I used to, before I understood box setting and game maker, I used to use other people's assets just because I was lazy, But
Yeah.
now coming to a point where I'm, managing a studio, or, own and manage a studio, you kind of come to the conclusion that you need to start making your own assets because using other people's assets to a point is fine as placeholders, but using your own and making a game that's like 100% unique really puts you in your own realm in terms of, you know, recognition. Because if you don't, use your own assets, it kind of works against you in a way.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think that's super true. And I mean, I don't know. I just think you can yeah, you just have more freedom to create, I guess, whenever you are using your own assets, right? Like that's probably the biggest pro in my opinion. But I think I said 99%. I think there's a time and a place for using assets that are just base assets because you don't need to be building everything from scratch, I guess. But maybe to begin with, maybe that's like more of the thing is like build whatever like world or like ecosystem you're building out, build all of the assets specifically for that world, and then you can reuse those in future games or whatever. But have it all be for one specific world. I feel like that makes sense, at least in my head. That's how I would approach it, and I think that's how a lot of people do, obviously.
Yeah, like at the moment, I'll show you in a minute what we're up to in terms of prototyping and with Trouble Down Under Part 1. However, we're using placeholders from Blaze Games for cars just while we're working on ours, which is completely fine to do. But by the time we're done, the game
Hmm.
should be like 99.99% all custom assets. I think there's one asset I brought off the marketplace because it looks so good, but everything else is
Yeah.
custom made and will be custom made, and that's what I enjoy. And plus, I really feel like there's a hole in the sandbox in terms of avatars or assets from one particular region, which is Australia. I like it's very hard. Like I've seen, I think one or two assets from Australia, and I feel like it's very underrepresented. So my spot in the sandbox or stick is to kind of fill that kind of hole because I know there's a demand. I've done a bit of market research. There's a big demand for certain Australian memorabilia. or like,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think that makes sense.
I think that would be fair to say without tooting my own horn. Like, I think a lot of people, especially Americans and Europeans, who are in the sandbox, they want to see Australian assets. Like, I don't know if you've seen my Avatar collection, which will be coming out not too far in the future. But we're doing like kangaroos, emus, crocodiles, dingoes. Gonna probably expand it a bit. Platypus. You know, we've got like
Nice.
10 or so different assets there just to kind of fill a gap.
That's awesome. I think that's I mean, like you said, I don't really know of any Aussie avatars or assets in general out there. I mean, I'm sure there's probably something out there, but but I think that's a great lane to fill, especially because like it's very unique. Like um there's a lot of different things that like when you think of Australia, like you just listed off a bunch of different animals, and um I think uh, that's one thing that's like interesting to me is like for Australia being as well known as it is, I don't think I've met maybe one, two. Well, Simple. I think he's been to Australia. I'm pretty sure. But I don't know very many people who have been to Australia. But there's like so many things that like trigger in our brains, like, oh, that's Australia, and I don't even know if it's always true. But um, I wonder why that is. You guys are very well known. You're a very well known country.
We're like the little brother that's like sort of annoying but very entertaining when drunk. That's how I'd kind of say Australians are. Like, we're like always rocking you on to do something you probably shouldn't, but it's entertaining, so you do it anyway.
Yeah,
You know, I feel
yeah.
like I feel like most of America and especially England as well, they still think of Australia as Paul Hogan, and uh, what's that beer brand? I'm trying to bloody think of what it's called. Forster's, like, beer.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and by the
Yep.
way, we don't drink that. I've had it once in my life in Australia because in the UK it's really popular for some reason in the UK, but it tastes like dog water. And I've had it in Australia on Australia Day because they were giving it out, and it tastes like dog water. So we
But
don't drink that.
I've
But
I've I think I've had one or two, and yeah, I agree. It's not great.
it's more of a meme, something you have to give to, an American friend when they come over. Like, I'll buy a six pack, and if you ever came over, but it wouldn't be something I drink regularly. I'm more of a refined, drinker. I'll have something called a Stone and Wood, and it's a Pacific ale, and it's just, yeah, that on a nice summer day just slaps. But
Nice.
never would touch a Forster's.
That sounds like well, I know a lot of people. I was gonna say like there's a lot of like we call them domestic beers here, but just like the Coors and Bud Light and um I don't know. Those are the two that pop into my head. They're the main two, but kind of sounds like that. But at the same time, a lot of a lot of Americans do drink that. So maybe not quite the same. Because would you say that is is Foster's a beer that like is popular with any demographic in Australia or not really?
Uh, Maybe some very rural out there community that no one ever knows of, like somewhere way out in the bush and sticks. But I used to work in the alcohol industry, so I'm very familiar with alcohol. And I've probably seen I've seen it once or twice. I've been to hundreds of bottle shops. I've seen it once or twice. So it's very hard to get.
Sure.
It's not. It's probably sent to you guys more than what we have it. You guys probably find it once in a blue moon in, I don't know, your bottle shops, but maybe Walmart if they sell it, or it's a special kind of gag or something. You guys are, oh,
Yeah.
sweet, but yeah, we don't drink it. It's very hard to get here. At least where I am, I've barely seen it.
Yeah, that's funny. Um, I got this, well, not distracted, but a question came in. I'll pull it up on the screen. and I'll answer it just because we're kind of talking about where what locations and stuff. It is cold here actually. I The question was where do I live? It looks cold. Um, I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I'm in Minnesota right now, so I'm visiting some family in Minnesota, and it is colder here than, I mean, it's not like super cold, but I'm a freeze baby, so I got a sweatshirt on. Um, but yeah, Foster's, yeah, whatever. It's not. It's one. That's so true. It's like one of those things like we would like see randomly in a liquor store when we're, I don't know, like going to a big get together or something. Be like, oh, fun to grab some Foster's and act like we're drinking Australian beer. I don't know.
And do
And
an Australian accent and then immediately regret drinking it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, I'm in. Okay, I'm segueing us back. We could talk about all the Australian stuff forever, I'm sure. But I'm gonna segue us back to the game that you guys are, or the games that you guys are developing, because it sounded super interesting and something that like I've kind of been contemplating myself. Um, is so I'm gonna tell you why this sounds interesting, because you brought up Dookie Dash, and I really like the way that um, the way that Yuga is rolling out these different games that kind of build on top of each other, but they don't really last forever. You just play them for a little bit to then unlock something that then you can use in the next game, and that, like, the way that they roll it out is you can't even go play those games anymore. They're just done. I don't know if you need to necessarily do that, um, but I love that idea of like little mini games kind of leading up to a bigger game, or I mean, it doesn't have to lead up to a bigger game, but I think it's a cool way to roll things out. And it kind of sounded like that was what you guys are kind of doing as well. So do you want to? I think it was. I gotta find the screen. My screens are being all weird. There we go. Um, this roadmap, is that kind of what you're doing, is like three games leading up to something bigger, or I don't know, explain this roadmap to me.
Yeah, so Trouble Down Under Part 1 leads into 2 and 3. So 2 was originally, if you've seen my streams eons ago, 2 will now, sorry, Trouble Down Under Part 2 will still be in there. It's just going to be reshuffled. So essentially, 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 3, and there might even be a part 4 down the path, just depending on time and constraints and everything. But it's all linked in. It'll be a continuous story. You know, like it's going to be one of the first sandbox games that has basically its own universe. It's set
Mm,
in its own universe. It's going to make sense, the whole plot, why it all links in. Like it's like is it Pixar
yeah,
cinematic universe where
sounds
it's all linked in, but it's not like, it'll
right,
be
right,
more
right.
obvious than Pixar, but it's gonna be all linked in together. So plot of part 1 basically is you're driving down an Australian highway. It'll start out in the desert, and eventually what it'll do, at the moment we're still working on this because it takes a lot of game maker functioning and testing to get it to work, but it'll switch biomes. So you'll be in the desert, and then the next, you'll go through a tunnel and it'll switch. So instead of being just in one location, it'll switch. Sort of like, there was a game jam a while ago, and I think it's called Triathlon, and they used portals to switch. In ours, we'll be using tunnels. So you'll drive through a tunnel, and it'll switch to another location using the void
Okay,
function. So we're looking to do um, beach, like a beach theme, a farm theme, snow theme, outback, and we'll also have other like little mini events during some of these biomes. So essentially, you can have a dust storm going in the outback to make it harder for the player. There'll be one where there's a bushfire. That's one I'm really looking forward to. So I'll be using VFX. So we'll be mimicking a bushfire. So players will be
sure.
driving um, through a biome, so it'll start off normal, and then a bushfire sign will pop up on the side of the road, and then it'll get darker and darker, and the flames, using VFX, will basically set the mood that the forest around the road that you're driving on is burning and you have to keep going, and unique obstacles will spawn. And again, we're a little bit away from this just because we're still early days, but we've done a lot of work on this and it is 100% possible. It just takes a lot of time to map out. So essentially, we're going the full Monty with this. We're going to be the basically one of the first, if not the first, Infinite Runner games, and definitely the first Infinite Runner game set in this unique setting. So part one basically survive as long as you can, uh, dodge the obstacles, animals, vehicles, and then part two is basically the follow on, because obviously you're going to break down eventually. Part two, you've got to find parts for your car, fix it up, do side quests like maybe count emus, cull a few dingoes, things like that. Like we're playing into the Australian stereotype as it's a bit of a meme, like most
Yeah.
Americans they'll think, oh, Australia, we're fighting dingoes
Yeah.
and koalas each day. So that's what we're playing at.
Yeah. I
And
like
then
that.
right at the end of part two, once you've gone through all of that, we're playing on the biggest meme of them all, which was in the 1950s and 60s. The US dropped nukes in Australia. I don't know
What?
if you know that. So
Nope.
Australia was a testing ground for nuclear devices. I can't remember exactly where it is. Hold on, Let me Google it. I know it happened. I just can't remember where it was. Yeah, did the US test nukes in
How,
Australia? It
how many
happened
how many conspiracies are around this thing? I bet you I
probably a
bet you
lot.
there's all kinds of stuff out there that I've never heard about.
Maralagunga. It's in so there's 2 points. There's one in WA and one in West Australia. Sorry, South Australia and West Australia. Um, two spots where they tested nuclear bombs in 1955. So what we're playing at here, and I don't know if you've seen, there's a few hints at it on my Twitter. We're going to basically play it that there's a US Army base, and so this is all set in the present. A US Army base, and they accidentally set off an undisturbed nuke that's been sitting in the ground for a while. And this is where it gets interesting because in part three, the plan at this point is to have radioactive zombie kangaroos, dingoes, emus. So we're really going down the drop bear
Okay.
path.
Yeah.
So we have already started making US Army soldiers to go along with this theme, army vehicles. So we're going the full Monty of the deadly animals in Australia. Like,
Dude. I love it. I love it. To be honest, I don't you don't come across my timeline very often, so I don't really know a whole a whole lot that you've been up to. But this is all sounding awesome, and I hate Twitter for that because it's like I follow people for a reason. Show me the people that I follow, not all this bullshit that I don't even care about. But anyways, that's a that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I love everything that I'm hearing, and I think it's cool how you're the three parts. I think that's an awesome way to approach it. Is there when people are playing along with these through these three parts, like playing part one, will you, if you do good at the game, unlock stuff that is more useful than people that did less good at the game for part two?
so at the moment, that's not the plan.
Okay.
So essentially, the sandbox is still working out how they, well, at least my understanding from when Seb had his last AMA was that they're still working out the monetization and basically the connection between the experiences at this point. If you're making your own experiences slash, you know, universe in the sandbox, if you will. So it's kind of hard to do that at this point. But what the plan is to use a pass system or maybe gated behind an NFT, just depending on how the sandbox does it. But playing part one won't give you advantages in part two. It's all a level playing field across the whole thing.
Gotcha.
So I feel like if we added features like if you did really well in part one, you would get items in part 2, it might be a bit OP and unfair, especially when we're doing contests, which I'll come into in a second. So just keep it fair that way, but there'll definitely be ways to boost yourself in part 1. Like, how do I describe that to you?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um,
That.
there might be something like we could even get to the point, and this is all theory because we don't know what the sandbox is doing, where if you buy a special NFT, you get 10 extra lives. Or we could
Mm-hmm.
just do it as an arcade system for part 1, especially, where each time you play, you pay 1 cent.
Right.
So it's
Right.
more
Right.
like an arcade, but there won't be a paid win, or paid advantage by paying. Like a huge
Yeah.
advantage. Like you won't get double speed or something. Like we want it to be as fair as possible because part 1, what we're planning to do is a trip around Australia kind of competition. So this is all still, up in the air because the game's in development. But what we want to do essentially is hold 5 or 6 different events where, so like Dookie Dash, we got our own leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
People compete for the highest score. Obviously, they've got to buy in to this contest, so this will be a paid contest. People will play for the best time. Top 5 are awarded a proportion of the sand earned from sales. So I think it's like 80% at the moment is the marketing plan. Goes back. So let's say 10,000 sands raised. 8,000 of that would go back to the players. That'd be the prize pool for the top
Mm-hmm.
5. So we'd do that 5 times, and people would buy passes each time. And the prize pool would be dependent on the funds raised.
Right. Right.
So we're doing some really cool stuff,
Yeah. For
especially with
sure.
part 1.
I
Or
love that.
we got some really cool stuff planned, and there'll be ways to earn sand back. And there'll also be NFT drops. And what we're also planning to do is, let's say the top 5 win sand, the top 50 get a custom NFT from, it could be a
Mm-hmm.
boomerang, it could be a didgeridoo, not something
Yeah.
huge, but something that
Something
says
you.
I participated in this, and you know,
Yeah. That's like the. I'm the only reason I hope you take this as a compliment. I'm comparing a lot of what you're doing to the other side is because, or to the Yuga stuff is because you're doing a lot of stuff that they're doing, and I think they're masters at the game that we're all playing. So I think it's a good one to model after. But like, they gave everyone who won like the first big test that they did. They had like 4 teams, and one of the teams that won, everyone on that team got like a helmet that they'll be able to wear on the other side eventually. So yeah, I think that's always a good strategy too, is to just kind of give out unique stuff for participation. Um,
yeah, and as I'm starting to learn, I'm pretty sure you understand this. Avatar, like at the moment, obviously we can't make avatars and customize them a hell of a lot. You can customize set avatars that the sandbox makes or partners make, but when it comes down to people being able to make their own avatars eventually or something similar to that, they want to wear custom stuff. They want to have cool, unique things. So, like,
right.
I don't know, yeah, you're looking at my avatar there in the um, photo you had up on Twitter before,
My bad.
taking the hat and segmenting the hat that I've got on my head and using that as a prize. I think a lot of people would like having, an Australian outback kind of hat. I forget what they're called. There's a special name for them, but having that on their character mixed along with a My Little Pony jacket, mixed along with
Yeah,
I don't know, crocodile boots or um, something really funky. Like I've seen a lot of people start trying to do that already.
yeah,
Make the avatar like it doesn't look uniform. It looks crazy and it's kind of cool.
but it's kind of
Um,
cool. Yeah,
you know,
I think that's I think wearables are going to be huge in this metaphor. Like we're at the very beginning of it, and we've already seen before this stage where now like NFTs are wearables. There's always been skins in these different games, and we know all. I mean, not we all, but if you don't know, the sales on skins is insane. Like these companies are making a lot of money just from people buying skins, and like that's only going to bleed into, as we segue into more of a metaverse world, like all the wearables that are going to be out there, like the people that's what we love to do. We love to mix things up and put different things on, and it's going to be just the same in the metaverse, and we're at the early stages of that with the sandbox. And i I think wearables is where it's at least if you're um trying to like appeal to your audience, because like your audience wants to do things and show off different things, and plus it helps. I think when I had Seb on the show, that he even touched on this, like having wearables for your brand, like that's like free advertising as people wear that around to other experiences and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I feel like you could do it. A few studios could do it a different way. They could sell their wearables, or they just give them away. Like for me, you've got a vest, a hat, shorts, and pants, and a boomerang that you could possibly give away. And I think to me, it's more rewarding to give these things away than to sell them even for one cent. That's what I'm probably going to go towards. Our studio's going to do. We're going to put these items up as, for the first competition, you might get the hat. The top 50 participants will get a hat. Then after that, the second round it'll be the vest, and the third
Hmm.
round will be the pant. Doing it that way, so everyone gets a chance to get something.
Yeah.
And people don't like what they get, they can sell it and then trade it back, and get what they want. And I feel that's the better way to do it these days with contests, instead of just hitting everyone with you got to buy the hat, you got to buy the vest. Like if you want to do that, that's your own thing, and fully support that. But in my opinion, I prefer doing it the way I'm doing it, which is, or plan to do it, which is give away wearables and let people play around with it. Let them be quirky. Let them put a kangaroo hat on a shark.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I see your character at the moment's wearing a hat.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, dude,
so,
I just picked this dude up the other day. A wet noodle, I think is who. I already forgot. I think it was wet noodle. Pretty sure. He had one of these, and I was like, what collection is that? Because I want to get one. And this dude was on the floor, and I was like, I'm picking that up because he's pretty cool looking, isn't he?
yeah, I
But
almost thought that was an Australian hat. To be honest, it looks like a slouch hat almost.
it might be. I don't know. I don't know anything about this collection other than they have cool avatars in the sandbox. So I bought one. Um, but yeah, I what the hell were we talking? Oh, I agree, and I like your strategy more, but I think there's a time and a place for both, obviously, or you can do both at the same time, even. But I think giving away wearables and stuff is a cool thing to be able to do. So I love that that's what you guys are kind of planning on doing, especially based off of like gamified stuff. I think that just makes it fun, and it's rewarding. I mean, it's basically, I mean, that's in essence play to earn, and that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about this NFT technology that I think a lot of people miss, is that like you're playing a game. There's so many games that you play the game and you earn things throughout playing the game that could be NFTs, but because they're not, they're locked inside of that game silo. And if there's no marketplace for those things, you're just playing the game and you can't sell this stuff or anything. But it turns into play to earn whenever the Web3 stuff is incorporated into it, because then you really can turn around, and if you did earn the hat or the boomerang or whatever and you didn't want it, or you wanted something else and but you didn't have the money to get that something else, then you could sell that boomerang and then go buy the kangaroo hat or something. Like I think that's what's so cool about this technology, and being incorporated into games specifically. So
Yeah, like I feel like here's a good example. people play the events that come out, the sandbox official events that have the mystery boxes elements to them,
Hmm.
and a lot of people just want the sand. But in my opinion, if you're given something else like an NFT, usually they're wearable in some way, like a wand, or it could be a robe or a piece of special clothing. That's more valuable to me than 5 sand, because less people are going to have the robe than what are going to have the sand in some instances. So,
Right, right, right.
you know, that's why I think, especially with my collection, and maybe I'm talking myself up here, but I feel like the hat is going to be very popular in the vest in my case. And yeah, I could make a decent amount of money selling them, but my shtick is that I want people to have things that are rare, so I won't be minting 1,000 of them. It'll be
Uh-huh.
rarer than that. So
Right.
I want people basically to be not fighting over them, but I want there to be a demand there. And
Yeah,
if you sell them, people will just buy 50 of them and then manipulate the price. But if you give them away, it makes it harder for people to do that, and it maintains integrity of your wearables, if that makes sense.
totally.
So that's what I'm trying to aim for. I want to give people what they want and also make sure there's no manipulation of the pricing. Because let's say, best case scenario, the hat does really well and it becomes like this, I want to have that kind of thing, and people start, bidding for it essentially an open sea. I want to make sure that the integrity's there, you know? I want to
Yeah.
make sure that there's no market manipulation. Like, I don't know if you saw, there's a very famous YouTube video out there where someone brought what did he buy? He bought all this Vegemite and it pushed the Vegemite up. Like he was buying it wholesale. So he's basically manipulating the wholesale
Uh-huh.
Vegemite price market. And I don't want people to do that. So just another
Yeah.
way of
Yeah, I think yeah, I definitely see that side of things too. I I really like the I really like the idea of like scarcity around things, wearables and stuff. Like definitely like I don't know, like what kind of scarcity are you leaning towards? Because I go both ways. It's like you could do like hundreds or you could do like 20 or 50. Like
put it this way, the kangaroos, emus, dingoes, all the popular ones, I don't think there's going to be more than 100 of them.
uh-huh. I
So
like that.
it'll be like, I don't know exactly what the guidelines are. Actually, I think I do, but I'm not allowed to say them. The guidelines are for eventually when minting becomes a thing, how many you can mint of certain collection. I think the sandbox, and I think Seb said it before, the emphasis is on keeping rarity. They don't want having 10,000 copies.
Right.
So essentially, I think the goal there is if you want a kangaroo and you miss out on a kangaroo, you're gonna have to buy it off someone, and they could be attached to it. So you might have
Right.
to spend a bit of money on it to get it once it's out. So because I know already the dingo, kangaroo, koala, and there's one more, emu, have a lot of demand for. I'm not
Are they
talking myself up there. I've been messaged quite a bit about them. When are they coming to market? When are they coming to market?
nice?
So my goal is to put 100 or so up of each, and then see how it goes. And eventually, if it goes really well, I have an option to make a baby version of a koala,
Mm,
dingo, emu, and kangaroo. So it'll be a smaller collection there as well, a little sub collection.
yeah.
But there won't be many of those. So it gets even rarer again. So there might only be 50 of the baby variety of each one.
Here's a thought. This is just a wild off the cuff crafter thought.
Yeah, go for it.
What if you did so you have the we'll use the kangaroos. You have the 100 well and we'll use 100 kangaroos. Then and you could do some sort of like breeding system and allow people to actually create their, like, if they had to create their own baby one, and that would be a cool way to allow them to, I guess, like, be able to have something like, it's kind of like the Bored Ape Mutant thing, like it's giving giving back to somebody that already bought it, and allowing them to sell to the market. But
So in a
maybe
way, sorry,
no, you're good.
in a way similar to what fungi is doing with the fungis.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could do something like I've never thought
kind
of
of.
that to be honest, but you could mint 100 kangaroos and then mint 100 baby kangaroos, and then people have to buy a pass or something, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just get the baby kangaroo, or I don't know. You could definitely do something like that. It'd be cool. It's actually a good thought. I'll write it down now.
Yeah,
Um,
some of the thing about
yeah,
the whole idea is not fleshed out there, but but like
yeah.
something along those lines could be kind of cool.
Because there's
Um,
actually three varieties of kangaroos. There's the eastern grey, there's the red kangaroo, and there's the alberno kangaroo. So there'll be 300 in total, different
okay,
varieties of
okay.
kangaroo. And then maybe, no promises, I might make a golden kangaroo as like the
Ooh,
ultimate giveaway. It'll be exactly the same, but it's gold, and
hell
there'll
yeah.
only be five of
I
those.
was gonna say there should be like one or
Yeah,
five.
five.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
it'd be very rare. I might do that for the kangaroo and emu, just because they're their national icon,
yeah.
and they'll be very exclusive to get. So I think a lot of studios and people listening, I think if you're planning to do a release of something, whether it be, it could be an American bald eagle or it could be a camel, I think scarcity is something you've really got to consider, because if you flood the market and you make 1,000 or so assets, and even if they're 5 cent each, you could sell in theory 1,000 of them, but it might be harder to they might not be as popular. But if you make a scarcity, and I'm not saying artificially make it like really scarce, but if you find the right balance in scarcity, you'll find that your item will be more on the radar. People will be like, "Oh
Hmm.
my god, there's only 50 of those. I'm gonna get them." Compared to, "Oh, there's 1,000 of them. I'll buy them next week." Kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
Like, it's something you got to consider in your business plan. Like, I'm no expert on this, but like, you'll see, like with the Blaze Studios cars, they made a scarcity. People were like, "Oh, those are cool. I'll buy them." There's not that many of them. Bam, they basically all sold,
Right,
or
right.
did decently on the sell. And I think that's what my main point here, without babbling, is that you just gotta control your scarcity and make sure that you're not overpopulating the market with, you know, your asset. Because
Right,
if there's 1,000 crocodiles and you know you're making a collection of 1,000 crocodiles, you know, there's a lot of choice there. So you want to make sure there's a bit of scarcity and that your item stands out. That's what I've been trying to do.
yeah. I think that's definitely a good strategy. I think you're on the right track, and that's great advice. If I were listening, I would be taking it. I am listening, and I am taking it. Um, um, are I, I don't know if you probably did say this at one point, but are all of these that going to be like avatars that people can be? This is what the kangaroos and everything are.
I think the plan is to make those assets.
Okay,
I don't know if I think I don't know how the sandbox is going to do that. They haven't released how they're doing avatars.
I
It'd
know.
be cool to make everyone kangaroos and have them hop around. Like,
It would be very cool.
but like that might need to be its own asset. Like avatars, I think will be completely separate to NFTs. I think it'll be a completely different kettle of fish. I don't know if that'll be possible. There's definitely something to consider. We could make a social hub and let
Yeah.
everyone jump around as kangaroos, different varieties, and show off.
Yeah.
But do you mind if I share my screen? I was going to show off
Oh
what
yeah,
we're
yeah.
working on
Let's see it. I would love
before I
to see it.
forget, because I'm a bit of a
Let
scatterbrain at the moment.
me get over here.
I think that's up. So
Um,
this is the most recent version, well, one of the most recent versions of the prototype that we're working on. So this is built on a 2x2. Don't worry about the weather, it's just bugged. It doesn't look like this, it looks like the surface of Mars at the moment. So this is what we're working off. It's built off a 2x1. Um, Still a lot of work in progress. Things are not 100%. We're actually redoing the logic on the moment at the moment on another build. This is a little bit outdated, but essentially you've got your road surface, you've got your vehicles that come towards you. So this is basically the player. It can move side to side. However, all the assets come towards the player, giving the illusion of movement.
gotcha.
So we're using a platform system at the moment and void function, as you can see. And there's a lot of logic going on here. It's not easy to do. We're touching something that hasn't been done before. So it is the infinite slider game. So I think Flappy Sandy Bird was an example. There
Sure.
was, I don't know if you remember, it was a Game Jam entry. It was like a cat game, so it followed the same principle, but that used levels. This is infinite, so it doesn't switch between levels. So it's a different mechanic. It's very
Uh
complex to get this to work. Like we've
huh.
been fiddling around with this. Like one of the guys on our team is Cyber Dragon.
Yeah, yeah. I know
He's
Cyber's
very
he's been
talented.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, very talented in this field, and yeah, we've he's extensively gone back and forth with this just because of how complicated the mechanics are. So eventually, we hope to share the mechanics. I think it's also a
Yeah.
requirement of the Game Maker Fund to show how we did it. But yeah, it's not easy because if you saw the demo that I released, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago, we were doing it off a 2x1. Now this, sorry, a 1x1. This is now on a 2x1, which gives
Was
it a
that
lot more depth.
okay? I was gonna say why
Yeah.
did you do that? Why did you go from a one by one to a
So
two by one?
the problem with it 1x1 is that, especially in a game like this, especially with also Game Maker being as quirky as it likes to be, and we all know
Uh-huh.
how Game Maker can be sometimes, um, is that on a 1x1, all the cars get stuck at one end eventually. If you play it for 20 minutes, all the cars will start spawning each other, and we've got no idea why it does it. It's just quirky like that. And also, we want to give the illusion of an actual highway, so we
Yeah,
need that
yeah,
depth. We
yeah.
need things popping in at the right time. Like the power lines will animated, as you'll see in a second. So we need the cars to actually look like they're on a highway. And you know when you're driving on a highway, as you probably know, you can only see cars to a certain distance in front of you, and that's what we're trying to replicate here to a point. Like the cars pop into view and then slowly come towards you, like you're moving faster than the cars in front of you on a highway. That's what we're trying to mimic, and it's very hard to do it on a 1x1. So after we finish the demo, we've moved to a 2x1, which is a lot easier to use. And OG Shakespeare, who was another one of our game maker artists, is
Shout out
actually,
Shakespeare.
yeah, legend as well. He's
Yeah.
actually put a fake platform here to give it more depth as well. And we're going to do it on all
Oh,
sides.
I
So,
see. Yeah.
yeah, it's another
Nice.
little trick. I didn't even know about it, but it works. Definitely works. You can give your land a bit more depth to
That
make it
makes
feel
sense.
more realistic.
I guess I've seen things hang off the edge, so yeah, that makes sense that you could just do that. Nice. Shakespeare, you're
Yeah.
so fucking smart. I love Shakespeare.
Oh, he knows what he's doing, mate. I'm sitting
Yeah.
here like, I don't know, sucking my thumb while he's explaining these things. Like it
Yeah.
just goes straight over my head sometimes. Like all the mechanics here, like there's a lot going on here, and there's some under the surface as well. There's heaps of functions. Like you should see it the way we've got it set up now. We're refining this to make it clearer, and a lot of the function there is super hard to get working, especially these are tutorial signs. So we're going to have our own tutorial that'll be skippable as well.
Nice.
Don't mind the color. The color's a work in progress. They're going to be green. Um, so yeah, without further babbling, I'll just show you what it looks like at the
No,
moment.
I love this. This is some of my favorite is like getting to see behind the scenes stuff.
So don't mind the kangaroos and emus just randomly coming across and freeze at the moment. Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is an older version, so it's not perfect. So Cars won't spawn at this point. It'll just be a tutorial. Um, just this is an older version, so it hasn't been fixed up. The next version is on someone else's PC, so it's not up live yet.
Sure.
But you got your tutorial. You'll be able to skip this. All this will be refined. So this is just an early work. Obviously, it'll be a lot more precise, a lot more like come towards you faster. It'll move off faster. It's just template.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
But
awesome though.
yeah, because I feel like a lot of games, especially a game like this, you need to not baby the player through, but you've got to give them
Yes.
a bit of guidance.
Yes, you do,
Because
because otherwise you get somebody like me that shows up and just dives on into the game and doesn't know what the hell they're doing and doesn't know how to play it, and then it's like, all right, this is stupid, and then moves on to the next game. So, yes,
yeah, it's
have a good tutorial that just quickly kind of walks you through the basics, and then there could be other tutorials that you can find along the way, but like one good solid tutorial in the beginning, it's so crucial.
yeah, and like again, a lot of this is work in progress. There'll be more background assets coming towards the player as well. So it'll look more refined in about a month's time. We're just working on a few more assets at the moment before we push it all out and make another big update.
Heck
So
yeah.
one of the bugs, and this is something that's being worked on at the moment, is for some reason cars take about 30 seconds to spawn after the tutorial. I don't know why it does that. It's just a weird quirk
Uh-huh.
being worked on. A lot of this stuff we all know what's going on. We're just fixing it at the moment. It's the reason we've got Cyber Dragon on our team. It's a legend at game maker stuff.
I was gonna
So
say that's a great dude to have on your team. So hell yeah.
yeah, like it's a huge perk. He's a very talented guy. He's also another Aussie. He's from Victoria.
Yep. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the peasant state as we call it. But he's really talented at stuff. So as I was saying before, we're gonna have a weather pattern through our game. So this
Yeah.
one's pretty basic. It's just a night-day cycle with dusk dawn put in there. But essentially, we're gonna have outback thunderstorms. I don't know if you've ever seen like Discovery Channel and they show it off like an outback thunderstorm, and it looks really scary. Like the
I
sky goes completely black, and
yeah, I feel like I have. I mean I have to have. I watch so much so many things like that. I have to have
yeah.
seen that at some point.
So it'll be a dust storm. So this one will have this biome itself will have like 6 or 7 different weather events, or maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 8 weather events that are unique to it. So
That's
these
super
weather
cool.
events are going to be, you know, really distinct. It'll be like nothing you've ever seen. And when I'm saying like talking in basically because it hasn't been done yet, it is possible. We've already done it on a test build, and give us about 3 months, and you'll see a huge, huge change in this because we work in about blocks of 3 months. And as you can see, you hit an object, your card dies. At the moment, we don't have a live system just because essentially with the way testing works, it's easier to have the life system turned off, but it is something that will be added. The player
Okay.
will be starting with 3 lives, and then you can collect lives up to 6.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And
I like that.
essentially, there'll be a custom score system. So at the top middle, like Dookie Dash, you'll have a score system that's based off distance, and you'll also be able to collect the power ups and stuff to go faster and add points to your score. So there'll be
What's
real incentives to collect them, but they might be in hard locations to get. So they could
right.
be in between the car right here. So you're gonna need
Uh-huh.
skill to get them. So
Hell yeah. I love that. I'm excited to play this. These are the kind of games I love playing. Is like I don't know what it, like arcade games, I think would be a good title.
yeah, it'd be
Maybe.
definitely an arcade game. Yeah, like
Yeah.
and things like if you can see at the moment, see how the car's hopping.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
because of a game maker bug, we removed it. But if you stay on the shoulder of the road like that, it'll damage the car. It'll be very realistic. So if you basically
Huh.
players can't sit here,
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
so
Gotcha.
they'll take damage. It'll hop the car. There'll be a VFX where it's kicking up dust. So
Nice.
you've got to stay on the road essentially. So we've already thought of players exploiting and doing stuff like that. So
Nice. What
this will be yep.
what length of gameplay do you guys expect, or is it hard to know until it gets finished and how, or are you planning for a certain length of gameplay, like on average?
So the way we're kind of setting it up is, and this is something I'm talking to OG Shakespeare about at the moment, is the first 5 minutes of this game will be relatively easy, where basically anyone, even like someone 8 years old, could play it for 5 minutes without dying.
Uh-huh.
After the 5 minute mark, it's like where we start, you know, really kicking it off to the
Ramping
point
it
where,
up.
yeah, players are going to have to really focus to, you know, continue. Like, all these cars here and that are placeholders, so we can't change the speed of them that easily. But with all the, and I'll show you in a minute with the asset sheet, we're going to have custom cars with custom speeds set to them, so they can go different speeds. And how I mean that is the wheels will go faster, and we'll platform them so they can go different speeds. So they'll start off slow, then medium, then really fast. So they'll start flying back towards the player faster.
Sure.
Added with VFX, it'll make it a lot harder to survive after that 5 minute mark. So the skill really kicks in. So people are going to need muscle memory. They're going to need to be concentrating on this.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Hell yeah.
if you're really good, you could play in theory infinitely. Because I've left this running for about 2 hours, and yeah, even with the lives, even with the fact that we've left the live system off at the moment,
Yeah.
this runs for 2 hours without breaking. I think the two
Nice.
hour mark, it just, whatever reason, something
I'm
happened.
I can't wait to see what the top scores are for it once
It'll
it's all
be
done.
it'll be interesting because like the problem is at the moment we're waiting on game maker funding. As you know, that can take a little bit of time. So
I
we've got an app.
I know very well.
Yeah,
um,
so we're waiting on that to come through because, as you know, making assets is an expensive endeavor.
totally.
So yeah, we're gonna basically, as soon as we get that, we've got our 32 voxel artists studio ready to make a whole bunch of cars, side items, background items, all these kind of things ready, and we'll go through the next huge push. So you should see this game probably about March of next year is the feeling at this point,
Okay.
with
Hell yeah.
everything done. It's just, yeah, waiting on assets can be the thing that really slows us down. All these coins will be updated, everything will be completely refined. All these cars you see at the moment won't be here. They'll be completely custom cars going through the whole game. So we've got a lot planned, to be honest. We've got a hell of a
Legit.
lot planned.
Dude,
And
uh, not that I have any pullover at the sandbox, but what's the holdup? Like, these guys have a cool ass game that's basically almost developed, and they just need some funding to get it finished. Like, can we help these guys out and make this process a little bit faster? Um, I, that's my rant. You don't have to say anything about it. But that's how I feel.
yeah, it's a complicated endeavor. Um, put it that way. There's a lot of applications, and being a sandbox staff member, well, yeah, junior staff member, I'll put it that way. I understand why it takes so long, but it would be nice if it got kicked through, sooner rather than
Yeah.
later. But
It
it,
feels
it's
like there needs to be some more systems in place to kind of facilitate it a little bit better. I think they just haven't figured out a good system for it. Is
yeah,
is is my
it's
feel,
it's
anyways.
got a lot better since the beginning. They used to chuck money at people with no expectations.
This
Now,
is
at Game
also
Maker
true.
funds, there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of not financial, legal obligations to. Basically, got to sign a contract. You sign your life away with the Game
Yeah,
Maker fund
yeah,
because they want to make sure, and it's the right thing to do. They got to make sure
totally.
that people are going to actually build what they're promising and not just take the money and run. That's
Yeah,
why payments for Game Maker are made in milestones, not just one lump. But like this
exactly.
is the asset list we're working on, so there's a lot here. So a lot of these cards, like besides the juice box, and this is another thing, our cars are not going to be named after their real life equivalents. They're going to have some weird names. So cars like the Holden Commodore, are going to have a completely different name to the Holden Commodore. They're going to be called for the Commodore. What do we come up with? The Lad's Car, the Juice Box. We've got
I was
the
gonna say, is
Walking
the juice
House
box one?
Deposit.
Because I
Yeah,
don't I don't know if that's a real car or not, but I don't know
yeah. The Walking House Deposit. Um,
it.
the Compensator. Like
Mm,
what was this one? We got all these different names for these cars, so they're
I
going to
like
follow
it.
their own weird convention. Um,
Was that a burning bus? Or
oh yeah, so this
what
is
did I just see?
yeah, so as part of the Wolf Creek kind of Easter eggs that we're adding through,
Okay.
this will
Okay.
be one of the cars that comes back towards the player. So it'll be a full tour bus. So essentially, uh, yeah, it's going to be really unique asset. Like I've seen a few tour buses made, a few that are not even on the marketplace yet, but this is going to be an Australian tour bus, so it'll look completely different. So we're focusing on vehicles that no one has in their country, or they're rare. They're more Australian vehicles. Like obviously this is the car that you saw obviously on my Twitter the other day. 1979 Ford F100 is an American car, but the thing about this car is that it's got the hunting racks on the side of it, so it's been modified heavily. So if you
Mm.
don't know, in Australia we have a kangaroo problem. So what hunters will do is they'll shoot kangaroos and then they'll tie their tail around the hooks on this car.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
what it's for.
I
So
see.
essentially, I'm focusing on a lot of Australian cars. Like the chimney, well, they call this a Jimmy, but I call it chimney, or juice box. You see that everywhere. But cars like the Commodore, the Utes, the Land Cruisers, they're all very Australian cars. Like
I was gonna say I don't know any of these.
like Holden's actually gone out of business in Australia. They stopped manufacturing, but when they did, a Commodore like this, a new Commodore, oh, did it just disappear? Oh god, the photo just disappeared. I don't know where that's gone.
Whoops.
Ah, god damn
Control
it,
Z.
Google shoots. Yeah, uh,
Maybe.
it's just gone. I'll find the photo again later and replace. But photos
Google.
like the cars like the Commodore are very popular in Australia, especially among collectors, because they're no longer made. So
Mm,
that's what I'm focusing on. Because you can make a Mustang, you can make all these American cars, and that's fine. But when are you going to see a Australian car? You know, there's no
yeah.
Australian cars in the sandbox, and that's what I'm trying to fill. That's my goal in the sandbox. One of my main goals is to fill that Australian niche. So even people in the sandbox that like their cars, or virtual car collectors, are like, I've never seen something like that. I want that, and I'm like, yes, I've got
Yep.
what you want. You know, because you
Yeah.
can make a million American cars, and that's fine, but when are you going to see an Australian car or something uniquely Australian that it's not available in the US market?
Yeah. No,
Like,
I think that's a clutch idea.
and
And
then see, these are some of the assets I was talking about before. So this is for the bushfire or the forest region. So I have all these different bushfire related assets, signs, barriers, road signage. A lot of these will be different variants of the same sign, unique trees and wildlife as well.
uh-huh.
um, that's where I'm coming back to the Wolf Creek Easter egg. This will definitely be in there somewhere. It's a bit of an Easter egg. We've got our beach biome here. So, and this is just the start. We've got a lot to be added to this list. So,
Hell yeah. Um
yeah.
Something that just popped in my head, just another random crafter thought. Have you guys thought of doing like an underwater ecosystem? And
Weirdly enough, we've already got a shark made, a great white,
yeah.
but it might be hard to do it with Game Maker,
Mm,
like do an underwater tunnel.
yeah, I have no
Like,
idea if it would be hard or not, but it sounds like it would be hard. Um,
because if Voxit had allowed you to make a transparent tunnel, I would do it.
mm,
But you can't do transparent items. You can do. It gets hard. Put it
yeah.
this way, it gets
Yeah.
really hard to do it. So we're kind of a little bit limited in that fact. But Yeah, we'll see what we can do because it's always interesting to push Game Maker, Vox Edit, and all of that to
Yeah.
new heights. Like,
I was just thinking because you also have a lot of unique uh underwater life in Australia, so it would just be another lane.
yeah,
But
I've got the Great White. Like, I think. Hold on, let me. I think I've got it somewhere. I think it's on my Twitter. If you have a look, you'll see all the animal assets that I'm working on.
let me pull it up here.
It's nothing particularly special, but I just thought I'd make it as a fun little side project. Just keep scrolling, scroll. Where is it? Should be in there.
This
Keep going. No, keep going. It's
the
one that's got
dingo.
all of them in. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
crocodile.
there it was.
Yeah, there
This.
we go. Yeah, so you can see the great white there. Three different styles of
Okay.
kangaroo, dingo, emu, crocodile, koala, and platypus and wombat on the sides. So
Heck yeah.
we've
Those
got
all
the
look.
full.
Yeah, you
Sorry,
got them all. You got them all. And those all look great.
but yeah,
I didn't scroll far enough back when I was doing my pre-show stock. I didn't get to these. I'm
so
trying to
some of
pull it
them are
up so
more
it's bigger.
basic than the others, but the kangaroo, emu, dingo, and crocodile have the best animations out there. Like OG Shakespeare made the crocodile you're looking at the moment, and
Uh-huh.
that thing moves and walks like a crocodile. It's scary. Like that thing is bloody scary. It's quite big as well. It's got
I
the
was gonna
size up.
say, how big is it? It looks pretty big.
Oh, it's
How big would it be compared to
it's
like a normal size avatar?
it's probably about knee height, I would say, but
Uh-huh.
its length is quite long and its
Like
girth is
longer
quite
than,
long. Yeah,
yeah. It looks
it's
like
quite
it looks like it would at least be the size of an
two
avatar or
avatars
two
long.
avatars. Yeah.
Yeah, the tail makes it quite long, quite girthy, and it's got like
It's a
swim
big boy.
animation, so you could use that in. And I'm not trying to talk myself up, but I'm just giving people ideas. That in your own game because it's got idle animations. You could use it as like a. So it's like, there's a game. It's always in arcades where you got to cross the road.
Frogger.
Frogger, like a Frogger sort of
Yeah.
game. You could use it in a PvP arena kind of game. It's got a lot of uses because of how many animations we've got to it. The four
Nice.
core animal avatars that we've got there. So kangaroo, dingo, koala. No, sorry, emu, kangaroo, crocodile, and dingo have the most animations, and they're completely custom. So they're very high quality in terms of what we're offering. The kangaroo, especially, is uniquely hard to animate. It took a long time to get it to
Yeah.
where it is now, just because of how
Have you
scuffed the kangaroo moves. Because
have
they
you
kind
shown
of,
it
there might be if you scroll up, it might be.
before it?
Yeah, I think I put it up there somewhere. I've got it. If not, I can pull it up and Vox edit and show it. Hopefully, let me. There's
Because
Vox edit.
I I haven't like I haven't studied the kangaroo, but but I feel like it has a very unique movement that is would be tough to like replicate.
Let me see if I can find. I'm just pulling up Vox edit at the moment. We've got hundreds of files, so it might just take me a second. I know. There it
Oh,
is.
Shakespeare's in the chat. What up, Shakespeare? He said that a bit over 6 blocks is, I mean, assuming how long it was, the alligator or
Yeah,
crocodile.
I can pull it up in Game Maker in a second as well. I'm just pulling. It's just taking a while to load. I don't know what its stick is at the moment. But welcome in, OG Shakespeare.
Yeah, what up, OG? We were talking. Yep, you're a legend. Oh, here's
Emu.
the emu.
That thing is quite big in game as well, quite high. So
Yeah,
it's not that deep in depth or length, but it's quite high. Like it's bigger than the Avatar.
the emus remind me of Oh, I blanked on it. Harry Potter. Can't remember. It's the thing that he rides. It can fly. I don't know. Are you a Harry Potter fan at all?
Let
I'm
me
not.
just show. Am I showing my screen at the moment by any chance?
Don't think so.
Let
But
me start again.
yeah, you got to share it again, and I can pull it up.
And there we go. Should be
OG
sharing.
OG Shakespeare also says underwater clear box totally doable.
Oh yeah, he knows more than me. He's the legend. I'm just the brains of the operation. He's the man that he's the muscle. He makes it happen. Same with OG. What's his name? Peasant Aussie. What's his bloody name? Um, brain farting. What's it called? What's his bloody name? Cyber Dragon. That's it.
Cyber Dragon. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the kangaroo. So you can see we tried to remain without going blocky. Like I don't know if you ever saw my original draft of a kangaroo when I was first trying to do it. It looked horrible. This is absolutely phenomenal. I think OG Shakespeare made this, refined it to this, I believe.
It
So
looks sweet. I
so
want
we got
one.
really cool.
I remember always loving kangaroo whenever I was like a kid. It was one of those. I feel like probably a lot of kids think kangaroos are cool. At
Oh,
least
100%.
American kids. I don't know. I guess I don't know
Oh,
about.
the dicks in Australia. They're complete dicks. So this
Yeah,
has got like
I
it's
could
got
see
quite
that.
a lot of animations, so you can see it actually hops like a kangaroo.
Yeah.
So in game, when this is running at you,
Yeah.
it actually works pretty well. Like it's got quite a few animations to it. So depots, all my assets I try and do as high as possible. So and still in my eyes do it as high, high level as possible. So, you know, it looks perfect. Like little things like the ear twitching. Like OG
Uh-huh.
Shakespeare did a really good job on that. Like, in real life the kangaroo would be sitting on its tail when it kicks, but it's just hard to animate that, so we've left it like this, but it
Sure.
looks really good in game when it's attacking you. So yeah.
It looks like it would be awesome.
Let's see if we can find the crocodile in a second. But yeah, these assets are phenomenal. Let me see if I can find it. Okay.
So you guys are thinking March for hopefully, fingers crossed,
That's
March.
yeah, fingers crossed. That's the goal at this point.
Yeah.
It's just things like game maker bugs could slow us down. Like we work really fast. When a studio, and OG Shakespeare can attest to this in chat, we're a studio that says what we're going to do and delivers on that date. We're not a studio that half-asses, cuts corners. Um, we do what we say we're going to do.
That's
So,
respectable. And I would imagine based on the caliber of team that you have around you,
yeah, like
I wouldn't expect anything less.
we've shown like the 32 voxel guys, they've got a studio of like 10 people and they've worked across the board in game maker. I think they've done all game maker projects in the past. They've worked for the sandbox in the past on certain select assets for alphas. So we've got a team of very dedicated and experienced people. Like two of us are staff. um, we've got people who have just had years of experience in the sandbox and know what they're doing. So we're not a rookie studio at all. Like obviously this is our first project, but we know exactly what we're doing, and that's why we're able to produce assets like this. Because obviously I tell people like OG Shakespeare what I want, and then kind of manage how it looks and how it turns out, and then we end up with high quality assets like the one we've got here. Like you can see the length of this bugger. She is big. Like just putting it in a grid so you can see the block sizing.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5. Yeah, yeah, 5.4 blocks in length.
big.
It's about 1.4 blocks across and width. So it's like a block or two high. Yeah, so it's quite detailed. And a lot of these assets, they're pretty hard to, you know, put together. They can be pretty time consuming. I know OG Shakespeare spent a long time on this one just because of how difficult it was. And, it looks the most realistic, in my opinion, it's the most realistic crocodile that's on the, sandbox at the moment. There's a few other ones, but I don't find them to be as realistic as this one, but that's just my personal bias. So,
You know, I don't know if I've seen any others. I probably have, but this one definitely looks real. So I love it. Um, how did you guys all come together and become working on in what do you call it? Roost Studios?
yeah, Rouge Studios. So, um, for Cyber Dragon, there's very few Australians in the space. We're like a dime a dozen. There used to be the Blaze guys. I don't think I might be
Yeah,
wrong, but I don't think they're no. I think they're moved away from the space because
I was gonna
they've
say I
moved on
haven't
to
haven't heard much from them lately.
other things. I could be wrong, but I
Yeah,
haven't
they
seen
might.
them in a while. But
They've been quiet at least.
yeah, and then there were three Australians and staff. One has since moved on, and then there's just Cyber Dragon and myself. And being the only Aussies, we're just like two magnets. We're we're
Yeah,
attracted to each other, and it just started off as general Australian banter between other Aussies, and it's just developed into this friendship where we help each other where we can, and that's how we kind of met. We're both staff for the sandbox. Him and Game Maker, me more on the community side, and we just chat all the time, and it led to ideas popping in between each other, and then the formation of an Australian game. Obviously, he was working on his own stuff. He's got his own project called. Actually, I don't know if I can tell you what it's called. Um, but essentially, he's working on his own thing. But then he kind of approached me like, "Hey, do you want help with this?" So I roped him into helping me on Trouble Down Under. He's been doing a lot of the game maker testing because he understands it like the back of his hand because that's his job.
yeah,
Um, OG Shakespeare is I think originally I just contacted him after a stream, after one of his streams to help me with an asset, and it's
yeah.
just really flourished from there. Like he's an American and really good guy, knows what he's doing with assets as well as game maker, so he's a tool of all trades, and we just really, you know, kicked it off and just I asked him to work on this project, and he went, "Yep, sweet." And we've been great ever since then. We're just like the power couple of the sandbox in a way, just you know, chilling. And the 32 Vox guys are managed by a guy called Mr. Selective, um, and I met him through Cyber Dragon because he was working for Cyber Dragon at the time. So we've all met through the Sand Fam essentially, and you know, just flourished into our own studio and are working on a common goal.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
That's what
it's
it's all about. It
it's
sounds
not so
I was just saying it sounds like a common story I've
yeah.
definitely heard of from others as well, like that
I've
that
yeah,
seems to happen. We're all very similar. We're passionate about the same things, and it's easy to find people to collaborate and work together with here.
yeah, like I feel like you can what they call it, networking is a major part of the sandbox if you're in the studio space. Like originally I never wanted to be a studio. I was just wanted to be a peasant doing my own thing. Um but circumstances came together. I met the right people, networked a bit, know a lot of the other studios, talked to other studios like the Boop Goop guys, Fungi guys,
Hmm.
um, Sandstorm guys, all those big studios like yourself. Um, we all talk. So networking has helped me get to where I am going at the moment. And that's what I would give the advice to your listeners is that you have to network. You need to go to certain events virtually or non-virtually and network with these people, build relationships because one thing I'm trying to do with my games is I want to put other people's games in my games in advertising. So I was talking to Batman the other day about that with his set of games. We put a
Hmm.
billboard with their goblins on it, and it's
Yep.
like, there's a neutral, there's no. obligation to do it in their game, but it's this thing of building relationships that way. You
Yeah.
can do it in so many different ways, but helping another studio, it gives your studio a good rep, and it also helps to build relationships. And that networking is what is crucial, not only just for your game, for the success of your game, but your brand as well, in just growing. Because I might, if I need something, I might just ask, you know, once in a blue moon, hey, Sandstorm, I'm coming out with these assets. Can you guys cross promote this? And they'll do it because I've helped them out in the past. Or they might just do it because, I'm a great guy. I've done work for them in the past. I've helped them out in the past with sandbox related. It's that networking that's key. And sometimes you do it for non-selfish reasons. You're just like, hey, I want to help you out. I'm going to do this for you. And that's the thing about the sandbox. You need to do things without expecting something in return sometimes, because people remember that. They'll be like, hey,
Yeah.
that guy did me a favor a while ago. He didn't ask for money or anything. He just did it because he wanted to be helpful. And that is the most important thing.
Yeah,
So I'm rambling a little bit.
100%. No, no, you're preaching. That's that I was I was just sitting here just nodding my head. I was just like, hell yeah, you're hitting on all the good things there. It's so true. And I mean, I'm in a fortunate place to be able to network with a lot of really, really cool cool people in this space thanks to the show that I started. But like even that's such good advice to everyone that's listening in. Like just network, make friends, talk to people, offer value when you can, accept it when it gets offered back to you. Like it's just this is such a great place to do that. It won't be like this forever, unfortunately. But this is the best time to be networking, in my opinion, is because these are the people that are here right now are the ones that are really dedicated to the space and seeing it grow and turn into what we believe it will be one day.
Yeah,
Um,
like obviously still be careful because there are a few scumbags
Definitely.
in the Sand fam that have a history, and I think you know who I'm referring to,
I know.
of ruining people or trying to screw people over in the sandbox. So y- that's always going to happen.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's a
an
group of people in the sandbox, and I can list them off. There's about 20 people I know of, all studios or just individuals that are just legends and will do anything they can to help you and have been around for eons and are trusted. Obviously, still try and network with other people that are less known, but just kind of exercise a bit of caution because there is a few people in the Sand fam that are less than honest, but still go out of your way to network because networking is the key to success. And I don't know how many people said that in the past, but it is so true and it will lead you so far in the sandbox because you can only go so far by yourself. You need to open yourself up to other people and you need to basically um, leverage relationships with where you can without being selfish about it. Like, not take advantage of people, but you can leverage relationships, in a neutral way, which is beneficial for both parties and
right.
come out with a desired result. Like, don't try and, what's this? Don't try and pull off like four-dimensional chess like they do in Suits. Is it Suits? Is it
Is that a
Suits?
show
Yeah, it's
that you're
the
referencing? My
yeah,
wife's watching that right now. I haven't watched it, but she's
yeah.
watching
Is
it.
it Suits? It's like the lawyers, and it's an
Yeah,
American
you're
firm,
probably
and
you're probably right.
yeah,
Your reference is probably spot on. It
yeah.
just went
Like
over my head.
don't try and four-dimensionally manipulate people and to do what you want, but you want to build these relationships that are actually crucial because that's what will get you far in the sandbox.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm sharing my screen again. Could you switch over for
Yes, sir.
2 seconds? This was made. This is the emu. This was made by another one of my artists. They do some great work. So this one is super, super talented. And even though the way I like my assets are non-blocky and non-high face. So this one is done using block texturing instead of using layers to texture an asset. In my opinion, it looks better and works better in game making, game maker and Vox edit. When you make something, using blocks instead of using more faces, if that makes. Because if you know how to
Uh,
texture right, you can get away with it without using too many blocks. Like,
I'm not. I don't think I'm following. What are you?
so let me
What's the
explain a different
difference?
one.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you can make something with a million bits and bobs and faces, and it looks really cool. But in terms of performance, it's going to be really bad because it's got a trillion different
Okay, yeah,
nodes
yeah.
and
Now
faces
I'm
to it.
following. Yeah.
If you make
Okay.
it with blocks that are more blocky but well textured, and you can hide the fact that it's a bit blocky like the emu, you can actually get a lot of performance with very similar looking features. Like, it won't look slightly as good as the one with a billion nodes, but it'll still do its purpose. Like, if you're looking at this one, for example, doesn't have that many parts,
Uh-huh.
but it's textured really well, so it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
The texturing is one thing that I'm always blown away by. Like that I mean, there's lots of things that I'm not great at in in box editing game maker, but the like texturing the it's like this, for example, like it just blows me away. Like I don't have the artistic eye to do it, but whenever it's done right, man, it looks awesome. And this one looks awesome.
yeah, so it's another little tidbit. A lot of you guys already know this, but try and avoid using too many nodes because it will um, cause you problems with animating. It will also tank performance, and the sandbox is eventually trying to get on Xbox and mobile phones. So if you make something too chunky, she ain't going to go on. She's not going to be able to be published, or she's not going to be able to be used in certain experiences that are on mobile phone eventually, if that happens. So you got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's a good tip because I've wondered that specific thing is I wonder how some of these games are going to perform whenever mobile does become a thing, and you're definitely going to have to think for that. Or I don't know. I wonder how they're gonna. I wonder if you'll be able to like say yes, this is a mobile game, or no, this shouldn't be a mobile game. Maybe they'll have something like that.
Yeah, it's still a year away at least.
Yeah, yeah,
So, well, that's what Seb said last AMA. I don't know what the reality is, but so you could smooth off the ears here and make it more like, smooth. But the thing is, it just adds unnecessary nodes to this thing. Like, this has probably got 25 nodes to it. If you start going into the hundreds, close to the hundreds, then you start running into problems. Even if they're tiny little nodes, it all adds up. So I've given this guy a bit more of a blocky feel, but you still know that's a koala. It's still a koala,
absolutely.
you know?
I love it.
So it's little things like that. Like, I got to fix the animations on that. But, you know, it's just, that's my little stick, just
Dude,
things I've learned over years. I've made so many errors in the sandbox. It's not funny, but you learn from these mistakes.
that's how
And I
you
think,
learn.
that's the thing. You got to learn from your mistakes and be willing to change, because there's a few people that I've run into that are not willing to change. Just look at some of the previous games in alpha seasons. They did not want to change,
Yeah.
and it caused a lot of problems for their studios in terms of rep, and it also peed a lot of people off that they wouldn't fix their mistake, would at least admit to their mistake.
Yeah, that happens. Is this
But
the snake that you just pulled up? Yeah.
yeah, so it's quite a cool asset. It's kind of hard. It's really hard to do a snake because of how many nodes it's got, just because of its shape. Like, this one's not actually too bad, but I've seen snakes with a million nodes to it.
Yeah.
So, and getting
Yep.
it to sliver like that is a pain in the bum.
It looks really good though.
Yeah,
You guys did a good
thanks.
job at it.
Can't remember who made this one, but yeah, it's quite cool. Um,
I like that.
but yeah,
Yeah.
getting back to it. Yeah, is there anything else like?
I was gonna say, unless you have anything, I feel like we've like touched on a lot, and this was a great episode so far. Um, I was gonna say if you what the heck's going on with my screen?
So I
If
just
you
stopped sharing.
Yeah, I'll switch it over if I can figure it out. Um, there we go. There we go. He's on it. Thank you, Simple. Um, if you want to take the stage one last time, and we'll kind of wrap things up, but I'll give you the stage and you can just shout out where people can support you, follow you, all that fun stuff. And then we will wrap it up for tonight because I think it's been a good show. I'm gonna do the giveaway here at the end. You can hang out with us if you want to see who wins the giveaway. Otherwise, you can bounce after we say our goodbyes. Um, but yeah, I think this is a great spot to wrap up for tonight.
Yeah, so anyone who's missed it, just coming in now, missing the party, uh, thank you for having me on the show today. We've just gone through basically Roof Studios, the plans for our studio, what we're working on, Trouble Down Under Part 1, 2, 3, our future plans, NFT drops, gone over a bit of like just advice around the sandbox, um, networking, um, just how my studio's formed, the people I've working with, the legends that have been formed, yeah, all of those kind of things. Just a bit of a tangent, because I've got you guys here and I work in the sandbox. Watch out for scams. There's a lot of scams out there in the sandbox. I know I'm probably a broken record here, but I see it daily. People getting ripped off and scammed because of my role in the sandbox. Please do not click links that you don't understand or have not, you don't know where it's come from. There are very sophisticated scams replicating the sandbox. If people are offering you free stuff, 99% of the time it's a scam. The sandbox will not ask you to download something via email. Please do not fall for the season 4 scam. It's so common. We don't do that. It's a scam. Please ignore those emails and report them to us so we can take action. Same thing with minting, same thing with land sales. A lot of scams in that path. Please don't fall for them because it sucks when I see people lose all their life savings in crypto because of that stuff. Besides from that, keep working hard on your projects, keep being, legends in your own right, and yeah, keep a hold of my Twitter, OG Shakespeare's Twitter, Cyber Dragon's Twitter, 24 Fox Studios Twitter, and yeah, we'll keep you posted about Trouble Down Under and what's coming because we are working on some big stuff, and we'll also be
Hell yeah,
giving
you
away some
are.
stuff in the future. So yeah, it's a pleasure being here, mate, and I'll let you wrap up because it's probably what 8 o'clock your time, 9 o'clock your time.
Nine
Let's
o'clock, 9 o'clock my time. About ready to start winding down, but hell yeah, dude, it was great getting to know you a little bit better and learning about all the awesome stuff that you guys got coming up. I'm excited to see everything that you're working on come to fruition, and I'm definitely gonna play along. So you definitely earned at least one new fan. I knew of you, and I was excited to get to know you, and now I love you. So thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to have you back on the show again whenever we get closer to uh, the first
release
stage,
it.
the
Yes.
level, or what are you calling it? Stages? I'm messing it all up for you.
Trouble Down Under Part 1, yeah.
Part one.
Because
Yes.
part one's done, part two won't be far behind because we're already 70% through part two because we're doing that before we start on one. But yeah. Anyways, mate, I'll let you do your giveaway because I'll just sit here and yabble all day.
That's usually what
But
happens.
yeah, thanks everyone for coming along, and look forward to see you guys in the future at some point.
Right on. Appreciate you, brother. We'll chat with you again soon.
Laters, buddy.
Peace.